Bandit, Bandit, sit, Bandit. Okay. Good boy. Bandit. Good boy. Okay, what do those three things have to do with self-care, me and Bandit, and being on the road? Well, stay tuned to find out. Issues with self-care just don't change when you get on the road, and I'm not talking about setting boundaries. Some of you will jump to that, but you've missed the message if you think that's what I'm talking about today. I'm talking about self-care, the kind that Viktor Frankl talked about when he was interned in a concentration camp during World War II. And think about the flight attendants that tell you to put your mask on first. They don't say, unless your husband is sitting next to you, or your wife, or your mother, or your child, or grandchild, or someone disabled, or someone elderly. They tell you, put your mask on first. And of course, that's because otherwise you can't help anyone else. If you're not very good about that in your day-to-day life and sticks and bricks, I promise you it won't be any different out here on the road. I can't say that word. Similarly, some people take it the other way and go overboard. Like poor Bandit here. He's learned that if he doesn't fight for his food, he's going to starve to death. So for him, it's not just bad manners. I mean, it is, and we're working on it. For him, it's a matter of life and death. That's where he and I are similar. I grew up in a horrid childhood that was full of abuse. Sometimes I would go without food as punishment. Other times I was made to eat spoiled food. Actually, the things that I grew up with make national news these days and people go to jail. That's the truth. I was locked in a room for several days at a time periodically, and I'm talking about a young girl, preschool and elementary. And then sometimes, if that wasn't possible, I would be put in a chicken coop cage because they didn't have dog crates like they do now. Otherwise, it was something very similar. Until you've lived life like that, you have your mom or people passing by you and ignoring you, acting like you don't even exist, passing you food every now and then. You can't imagine what it's like to try and cope with that growing up and to pretend also that it didn't actually happen. And it's up to each of us. I mean, we all have stories, right? It's up to each of us to overcome those things and to be the best loving, kind, human, connecting person that we can be. You can't just use it as an excuse and stay in it. And I'm not saying that people that have trouble, I mean, I was dysfunctional for many decades, and I get it. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you have to fight against that. You have to learn. You have to grow as best you can. There are some people that can't. All I'm saying is that I encourage you to try. He's trying to catch mosquitoes, so we won't be out here long. What I don't know and what I'm still working on is, much like Little Bandit, what is a real threat and what isn't? What is unacceptable and what isn't? I'm looking at my notes because I want to make sure that I get this right. It's an important topic, at least for me. And I think out here on the road we run into a lot of this, and so I wanted to address it. What do I do when I do run into those things? Okay, so Bandit will learn with my help that he's not going to die if he doesn't protect his food with all his might. He will also learn that most dogs are okay to greet and to play with. He doesn't know that right now. He thinks they're going to attack him, maim him, or even kill him. And we're working on it, and he's so much better than he used to be. In that original clip in the intro, hi buddy, there was a time when he wouldn't even let me come near him while he was eating, let alone sit and pause before he eats. So he is going to learn. And it's on me to help him learn how to socialize with other dogs and trust them, and who to trust and not trust. So we both get to learn new things. Oh, thank you, buddy. What I want most for me and for each of us actually is to learn to care for ourselves and to kindly, peacefully, lovingly, generously connect with others. Even if what we have to tell them revolves around something hard to hear. We can practice self-care in a loving and kind way and still communicate what our needs are. I learned that in NVC, which is nonviolent communication, that was created by the late, great Marshall Rosenberg. It's called OFNR. I'm not sure if that's what it's called, but it's called OFNR, O-F-N-R. Observation, feelings, need, request. That's just a basic part of MVC, and I'm giving you a very general overview today because of what is important on my heart and what I'm running into out here. And people think they come out here on the road and it's going to be Shangri-La and they leave all their cares behind. And I just want to share with you some things that I've learned out here. And boondocking has had me reflecting on all this, and some things have come up, and I just thought it was an important topic. Stating an observation without judgment is a whole lot harder than it sounds. Owning how that makes me feel can be even trickier. I'll give you an example. When I saw Bandit lunge at me for touching him while he was eating, I felt, fill in the blank with whatever that may be. So you observe, and then you feel, and then you express a need around that. And that sometimes can be or seem next to impossible, but with practice you can get it. So here's a full sentence. When I saw Bandit lunge at me for touching him while he was eating, I felt scared because I need safety and to be able to trust that my dog won't bite me. Okay, now that sounds all put together. That sounds like dull, but that is an observation and a feeling and a need. And it is not as easy as you would think when you go to practice it. My request of him, because it's OFNR, observation, feeling, need, request, my request of him around that might be that he allow me to touch him at all times when necessary, even when he's eating. The same scenario can play out with humans. My point is that just because we have feelings and needs that rise up, it doesn't give us license to be mean, rude, angry, or overbearing with others. There is especially never a reason for abuse. And I myself have found that for me, sometimes that line is difficult to discern, and you might think that's crazy or wacky, but it's not. It's a matter of what is acceptable behavior and what isn't, and when do you keep working on a relationship and when do you not? What do you toe the line at? Do you just cross everybody out of your life? It's not so black and white, and that gray line can get really fuzzy. That's something else Bandit and I have in common. Because of our abuses, and by the way, this little guy recently had to undergo emergency surgery to repair a botched DIY home neuter job that someone did on him. I just can't even imagine. The vet had to get a lot of stuff out of him that was junk left behind, and he had to repair the plumbing, so to speak. And this little guy, you wouldn't even know it. He's just a love bug. Are those flies and mosquitoes driving you crazy, baby? We'll finish up. Yeah. He has his food and his dog socialization issues, but he can get over that. What amazes me is that all he wants to do is be loved, as you can see, accepted and included. Basic needs that we all can identify with, right? I know I can. He acts tough. In fact, he acts like he could take on a grizzly bear if it came into camp while he was eating and threatening to take his food. But I know it's an act because I've seen this little boy piddle himself when he is acting like he's all tough. And so that tells me that we have something else in common, because most people who grew up in abusive or dysfunctional homes can relate. We all grew up acting. I think all, I don't want to speak generally, but that's been my experience. For example, teacher, Debra, where did you get those bruises? Oh, my daddy got me a new swing set this weekend with a slide and I fell off of it. I remember that day very well when my teacher asked me that. I went to my chair and both of those realities were true for me. I lived in that dreamland and the bruises came and then the swing set came, making it up to us. It had been a horrible weekend for both my mother and I. Principal, Debra, your teacher is concerned because you've missed a lot of days and sleep a lot during class. Is everything okay? Me, oh yes, we were helping my grandmother move. We've never helped my grandmother move. And I just got a new puppy, so I've been staying up late playing with him. Mommy tells me not to do it, but I do it anyway. You see the pattern here? Principal smiles and says, very well, you should probably listen to your mother then. My point is here that between the acting, the self-care, and the desire to be genuinely connected to people, it can all get pretty dang confusing sometimes. For example, I let people in that I shouldn't. I pretend something is okay when it isn't, and it shouldn't be. I go for the juggler when what I really meant to do or say was, I love you, but this behavior is unacceptable and I need to leave now. You might think that talking like that and behaving like that is impossible, but it's not. I actually have friends far more enlightened than me that do live that way. Just like it is going to require for Bandit, and he's playing, but he's also getting possessive, and he'll learn. Yeah, he'll learn. It takes discipline, commitment, and lots of practice. If you think coming out here on the road is going to change any of those dynamics for you, please think again. I'll quote a dear friend of mine that died some time ago. His name was R.T. Miles. R.T. always used to say, remember, wherever you go, there you are. Out here in solitude, it is easy to connect with spirit and nature and feel oneness. You know, you can feel one with anything, everything, everyone. But it's in my relationships and interpersonal interactions and communications that I want to especially be that person. So, Bandit and I get to practice together. I've decided that that's my goal starting now and especially throughout 2020 is to really practice and focus on being genuine, authentic, loving, kind, and self-caring. I'm going to read a few short paragraphs to you from an article that my dear friend, spiritual mentor, and trustee David wrote. In fact, I think it's published today, and you can find the link to the full article in my video description or the pinned comment. The title of his article is Living Our Mission, and here's the paragraphs that I want to read to you. This is David talking. When I talked about connecting authentically, I spoke about the importance of connecting with our thoughts, feelings, desires, and needs. In addition, I shared about the value of giving ourselves empathy and compassion when we are stimulated by another or by the events in the world. Further, that authentic connection also includes sharing our feelings, needs, and desires with another while being open and willing to hearing theirs as well. Authentic connection requires us to be honest with ourselves and vulnerable with others. Right? When I shared about inspiring transformation, I said that transformation begins in consciousness, but that true transformation most often requires us to take some action that will demonstrate our transformed consciousness in the world. Transformation asks us to be willing to connect with our judgments about ourselves, others, and the world, to inquire about them and to understand them. When we are willing and able to do that, we are released from bondage to them. It is claiming ourselves as new creatures through the processes in which we consciously engage and the actions we take as a result. Living consciously requires us to be in relationship to ourselves and with others from the awareness of our oneness, our shared spirituality, and our common humanity. While at its foundation, MVC is a simple 4-step process: observations, feelings, needs, and requests. Integrating it as a way of connecting with self and with others constitutes a profound paradigm shift. MVC is more than a way to communicate, it is a spiritual practice. As with any spiritual practice, MVC has the potential to transform one's consciousness. In fact, when practiced intentionally and intently, the principles of MVC, primarily empathy and compassion for self and others, will inspire a profound shift in the way we connect with and understand ourselves and each other. I want this for everyone, and may it begin with me. Things don't change out here on the road, folks. If anything, they get more intense because you're just left with yourself, and wherever you go, there you are. Keep on keeping on. I'll see you down the road. Good boy. Good boy. No, good boy. When I saw living consciously requires us to be to ourselves and with others from the will. Hey, buddy. Got it? Let go. Can you let go? Can you let go? Huh? Oh, good boy. Let go. Release. Release. Es todo. Good boy. You know es todo. Okay. Say, Mama speak español. I love you, Bandit. Good boy. Fetch. Good boy.